Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Cassidy. Today I'm showing how to make 3 of my favorite savory vegetarian breakfast recipes. I personally do not love sweet breakfast, so I have a ton of savory recipes up my sleeve, but these are 3 of my favorites. They can all be made dairy-free and they're all egg-free already. If you are new here, hit subscribe. I share new vegetarian recipes every single week and you do not want to miss out. Now, without further ado, let's hop into these recipes and go make some breakfast. Now, some of you might judge me a little, but roasted potatoes are probably my favorite breakfast ingredient above all of the classics like eggs, sausage, veggie bacon. Something about them, so crispy, soft, full of flavor. So we are using them in this first recipe. We're tossing them with some sauteed veggies and this wonderfully creamy sauce. Let's get started. The potatoes will cook while we prep the rest of the ingredients, so make sure to preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit before you do anything else. Dice up 2 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes into 1/2-inch pieces. These are my favorite for roasting because they get really buttery. Then toss them with 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. Spread those out on a parchment paper lined baking sheet and make sure not to overlap them. Roast them for about 35 to 40 minutes until they're super crispy. Meanwhile, let's prep everything else. So I'm slicing up a red bell pepper and 8 ounces of baby bella mushrooms for the sauteed veggies. And then to saute those, just heat a large skillet over medium-high heat. Once that's hot, go ahead and add in a drizzle of olive oil, just enough to coat the bottom. And then add in those veggies, along with a drizzle of soy sauce, which adds flavor, and the salt in the soy sauce helps draw moisture out of the veggies. And then we'll saute those until they're softened, which takes about 6 to 8 minutes. Once those are ready, go ahead and add in cherry tomatoes. I sliced these in half, and I'm also adding in 2 tablespoons of pesto. This is pre-made pesto. This adds an awesome pop of flavor. And then we'll just cook that another 2 to 3 minutes to soften those tomatoes. Those tomatoes add a lot of jammy texture that mix so well with all the other veggies and really just bring a lot to these bowls. And then we'll add spinach and wilt it. And the last part, super easy, we're going to make goat cheese pesto sauce. All you have to do is stir together 5 ounces of plain goat cheese and 3 tablespoons of pesto with enough water to thin it. Feel free to omit the goat cheese or use a vegan cream cheese here just to make this recipe dairy-free. Now we just put everything together. So I actually made a couple of veggie sausages for some more protein, but you can also add tofu scrambled, chickpeas, fried egg, whatever. I like to sprinkle it with hemp seeds for a little extra protein, add some fresh basil if you have it on hand, and there you have it. The breakfast bowls are super simple, flavorful, and very pretty to look at. This next recipe is an egg-free breakfast muffin that is made with chickpea flour, which is made from ground garbanzo beans, aka chickpeas. That's the only ingredient, and it makes this protein-rich flour that has this wonderfully savory flavor. If you've never tried it before, it's kind of a love-hate thing, so I won't be offended if you're like, what's that? But people love this. This has a lot of 5-star reviews, so it's definitely worth a try because we blend in some more sauteed veggies as well as a bunch of seasonings, and it makes this perfect mobile breakfast that you can take with you on your way to work, eat at your desk. So let's get started. You'll want to preheat your oven for this one too, and we'll be baking the muffins at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So for this recipe, I'm dicing up a green bell pepper, but you can use orange or red if you prefer. I'm also prepping 4 ounces of diced mushrooms. We're also sauteing these veggies in a bit of olive oil over medium-high heat. Add that sprinkle of salt to draw out the moisture again. This is especially important in this recipe since we are making muffins and no one likes soggy muffins. Just like the other recipe, we're going to add in some spinach and let it wilt, and once that's ready, you can make the muffin base. So to a large mixing bowl, add in 1.5 cups of chickpea flour, 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast for some savory and cheesy flavor, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. We'll also add in 1 teaspoon baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon baking soda to help with leavening. And finally, add in 1/4 cup of fresh parsley for flavor. You could always add in dry parsley if you prefer. Just mix all that together until it's nice and combined, and then add in your liquid ingredients, which is 3/4 cup of vegetable broth. Water does work in a pinch. a 1/4 cup of olive oil, and 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. This also helps with leavening. And stir it all together until it's just combined. It's okay if some dry bits still exist because we don't want to overmix. Use a spatula to gently fold in those sauteed veggies, and then we'll put them in a muffin tin. I lightly oiled my muffin tin, but you can use muffin liners if you prefer. Just divide the batter out between 9 muffin tins. You could make 12, but you'll have some pretty small muffins. And then I had some vegan Parmesan on hand, so I put some on top of the muffins. You could fold it into the muffins too, that would be really good, but that's entirely optional. We'll bake this at 350 degrees on the middle rack of the oven for 18 to 20 minutes, and they are ready when a toothpick inserted in the center comes out mostly clean. I recommend storing these in the fridge for up to 3 to 4 days. I'm guessing tofu scrambles aren't new to you. If they are, welcome. I'm about to show you how to make them. I wanted to do something a little different though, and instead of just a tofu scramble with a side of toast, kind of boring, I wanted to make a sandwich. So we're making a loaded veggie tofu sandwich, really quick and easy to make, so let's get started. For these sandwiches, I'm starting by making the tofu scramble, which uses my go-to scramble recipe. Basically, we just add oil to a pan over medium-high heat, and then add in that tofu. You can use your hands to break the tofu up into big pieces, but I'm just using a spatula here to break it into kind of big chunks. They'll continue to break down as we cook. Add in a 1/4 cup of vegetable broth. This helps to keep the tofu from drying out, which is pretty important in the scramble. We're also adding in 2 to 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, another 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of salt-free Cajun seasoning. But if your Cajun seasoning has salt in it, just omit that 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then we'll cook this for about 8 to 10 minutes, basically until the flavors have infused into the tofu. It should be soft and moist, but not soggy. Then we'll slice up a tomato for this sandwich. You could also add in cucumber here, that would be really good. I toasted up 2 slices of multigrain bread for the sandwich. I'm mashing up half of an avocado as well. I like to do this crosshatch because it makes it break down a lot more easily, especially if it's not like the most ripe avocado. We'll sprinkle that with a little bit of salt, or everything bagel seasoning is really good here if you have that. Add some tomato slices with more salt and pepper, 1/4 of that tofu scramble, or however much you want to use. And then I love mayo with tomato sandwiches, so I'm going to add some vegan mayo, but if that's not your thing, hummus is a great option here. And some fresh spinach. Close it up, and you have yourself a really tasty, simple sandwich that is also really good for lunch. Thanks so much for watching this video. Like I said earlier, I share new vegetarian recipes every single week. Hit subscribe and you'll never miss a new video. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. That's how I know to make more videos like this. And definitely leave a comment down below if you try any of these recipes, or if you just have a recipe request, video request. I love making videos based on what you want to see. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back next week with another new video.